Yeah, that's fun. We're going. Brilliant. Intro time. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the USL Show, brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network of podcasts, which we are very proud to be a part of. Definitely check the whole network out at bgn.fm, as well as on Twitter at the BGNFM. I am Evan Villela, as always, your host, joined sometimes by my soccer colleagues, sometimes my soccer acquaintances, but they're always my soccer friends. And for the next hour or so, I'll be your moderator, host, or maybe even your facilitator of a discussion of the year ahead for some Eastern Conference teams. And we'll do it this way. We'll do it by, I guess, seniority. So joining me this week, he is softer than a down pillow. He only travels in flocks. He is the Bernie Sanders of the United Soccer League. It is Goose.
Hello.
Welcome back, man. How you been? How are things?
I've been really good. We've actually got, I think, half a roster now. So
yeah,
a little more. And we have a signing for tomorrow, too.
Hey, good man. Good man.
Things are looking up.
I also failed to mention that you've in fact started a podcast since we last had you on the show. And I didn't mention that it was called Talkin Jacks, which might be beneficial to get people to go and listen to that. So there's your plug. Right, yeah. And then it's the guy from Unused Subs who looks good with a hat on. It's Mr. No Gimmicks Needed, Matt Cox. Matt, welcome.
Good evening. How's it going?
I'm all right. How are you?
Apparently I need to be wearing a hat.
It's okay. Well, see, now you ruined it because people didn't know you didn't have one on.
No.
You know, and we were just gonna go off of the Twitter picture. It would have been great.
Yeah, I've got a hat made for radio, and it's just not working tonight.
It's true. And then finally, representing the reigning and defending USL champions and the current holders of the USL Eastern Conference title belt from the Barrel Proof. Oh boy, this is going to be a fun night if that's how I'm going already. From the Barrel Proof podcast and the president of the Louisville Coopers supporters group, Tom Farmer. How's it going, Tom?
It's going pretty good. Yeah, you've had a little bit too much of that Barrel Proof already. I like that.
Well, I haven't had enough is the problem.
That's the way we do things, though. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on. I love it when things come together last minute, as they tend to do, and that's
my style. I just got
that is what happened again. So gentlemen, this is a show that covers the United Soccer League as a whole. What's nice is that we've been kind of breaking things up recently, so that way we can kind of get everybody on the show. But that being said, there's a USL Division 3, and I felt bad because I didn't say anything about it. But they announced their first team, and it is, in fact, Georgia Tormenta FC, who, if nothing else, seem like a really solid PDL team. And I'm very excited to see what they'll bring to D3, and I'm sure there's going to be tons more announcements. But if anyone has any other thoughts on that one, I know it's super early and everything. But
I'm just excited from the Louisville standpoint. We've got a great PDL team here, the Derby City Rovers. And in fact, one of the Coopers, Derek Davis, just got named their general manager. So lots of excitement on that end. So hopefully things play out for them as well.
Cool.
I'm just I don't know the name. I have stories I could tell about being in Statesboro where they're located, but I have no idea where the name comes from. Is there anyone know the
Ooh, that is a good question. Off the top of my head, I don't. I just know it's a really good name.
I guess sounds kind of like it.
Yeah. I was going to say, at least the name of the town, apparently it was a city-state during the Civil War, much like Athens. But as far as Tormenta, no, I wish I could help you out too. It is a very cool name.
The only warning I'll throw out there about Statesboro, at least the last time I went there, it's a dry county. So if you're going to go,
yikes,
you have to make runs to the border. Was shot at the time I was there, so
good to know.
It was good.
Good to know. Yeah, but no, definitely awesome to see that whole league kind of take shape, and I'm really excited that those guys have taken notice and have kind of, involved the show in all their announcements and everything. So appreciate it, Aaron. Keep doing you, friend. Keep working that soundboard. From there, let's see other news that we missed last week. The former Harrisburg City Islanders, now Penn FC, which is a name indicating that they represent the entire state of Pennsylvania, but there's two other teams in the state. Announced some staff changes in that the president and CEO of Rush Soccer is now their general manager, and they've moved Bill Betcher, the only head coach in Harrisburg City Islanders / Penn FC history, to like a technical advisor role, and they are coachless currently.
Is this like the old Pope? Like the one Pope's living in the castle in the back room or whatever, and they got
Yes.
the new Pope? Okay.
I think that's literally what it's going to be because, for as much as Russia's CEO and president probably knows about academy soccer, he's never done anything at a professional level. And for what it's worth, Bill Betcher has, he has a pretty good track record as a coach. So I'm sure he's going to be the guy pulling the strings, and then it'll be basically a shadow organization in front of him. That being said, not having a coach in February almost is very strange.
Yeah, that might be a problem. They might want to get on that.
I don't know, Matt and Ben. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on that one other than that's bad. Or I don't even know who you can get at this point, really. But I would assume it's someone with a Rush soccer background would be my only guess.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It looks like this whole thing is like it sounded like a kind of interesting experiment at first, but the more this goes on, the more it's kind of like the train wreck we were hoping it weren't, but probably had been not to expect.
Yeah. Business as usual.
Yeah. Feels like the bar is set really low for the expectations for them at this point, and I feel that it's weird that they've signed players that don't have a coach. Normally I think you'd want to get a coach before players, but I don't know I don't know.
I didn't even think about that, actually. That's a really good point because, a lot of times, as we all know, but for people that might not, usually a coach has, if not the final say, one of the final says in who they bring in as a team. And now this guy kind of has a couple players that, are returning and have kind of been thrust upon him, and we don't even know who it is. It's all very bizarre. And, hopefully it'll work out, but I don't know. It'll be strange for sure.
It's kind of like someone read everyone complaining about B teams and affiliates and said, "Hold my beer."
Kind of, yeah, right. And then the other the maybe the biggest news coming out of this week is that Indy 11 is going to play most of, if not all of their games at Lucas Oil Stadium this season, which. Obviously they were angling for. I talked to Aaron Gunyan out in Indy last week, and he said that was a big thing, and they were really hoping they got it, and they get to open against Cincinnati, who travel well, so that should be a hell of an environment for sure in the end of March.
Yep, and then we head up there on May 5th on Kentucky Derby Day, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. So we'll be in Indianapolis for that. I did have some bants on the tweets with folks from Cincinnati because the seating arrangement there is that the supporters are in the opposite end zone in the far corner. So it's going to be a little bit somebody, I think, I can't remember which SG it was, said they would set us up a TV so we could watch the Derby too. I was like, all right, that works for me.
Yeah,
I'm good.
That's fine.
You can just throw it on the Jumbotron overhead and you just kind of peek up every few minutes.
Yeah. Just like every NFL game I've been to where you end up watching the game on the Jumbotron instead of on the field. So
just split it and throw it all up there and go.
But we're excited. I've been to Lucas Oil for a couple NFL Colts games, and it's a really, really great place to just see how things fill out.
Yeah. Ben, any thoughts on that one other than it's another big old venue for USL to play in? And if I told a lot of people that it would happen 2 years ago, you'd probably look at me funny.
I'm just curious because I
think it's exciting. Yeah,
I think it'll be. It's got pretty cool, but I haven't read a ton of it. Like, are they going to be able to have smoke and the kind of the stuff they're used to having IUPUI there? Or?
That's a big TBD as far as we know. I said we would die on that hill with them because even though we can't bring it as traveling supporters, it's something that's a big part of the atmosphere. So we want to make sure they get that. But we'll see.
I hope it works out for him.
Yep.
And then we have some player signings. Ben, we'll start with you because it's one of your boys.
Yeah, it was a long time coming at this point because we've heard rumors that Lewis Hilton, who we're referring to, was going to get signed by St. Louis. This is like 2-3 months ago at this point. But it finally happened. We lost our Englishman to midfielder, which luckily the same day we signed another guy, which I think we're going to talk about later. But yeah, we're losing a really good player in Lewis Hilton. He's super energetic. He can, and run the full 90. I mean, it's going to be hard to replace him, especially since we already lost our two other midfielders. Now I think about it, being Callum Ross and Marcus Davidson. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who we replace him with as far as comparable talents and things like that. But St. Louis is getting a very good player.
Yeah.
Sure. Out west, so we don't have to see another one of our former players come to town, which is good.
When I saw that, I went, what the heck's going on at Young Harris down in Georgia? That place is crazy. 3 of our products came out of Young Harris. But that place is producing guys all over the USL. It's an amazing college, apparently. We play them just because of that relationship we have with them through our players. We play them in one of our preseason friendlies, so we'll see how things work out there.
Yeah, definitely not a guy I'm sad to see switch conferences. I one of those guys where, Ben, like you said, he just kind of never stops. And you get kind of tired of watching him not stop. And as someone like myself who's kind of out of shape, you just go, can you please stop making me feel terrible about myself?
Yeah, it makes you wonder where he gets it from, but passion for the game, I guess you could say.
Yeah, something like that. And then, hey Matt, one of your folks signed a new deal or for a first time deal. And I'm not going to try to say his name.
Yeah, I know. I've already mangled some of the other ones, so I'm going to hear this one first before I go after it. And this one came out kind of out of the blue. Like, we usually have gotten a heads up, like maybe a day or two before they're going to announce something for some of these guys. And this one, I just happened to be checking Twitter. I'll say it in the middle of class. I'm that kind of teacher. Was popped up. I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. It's kind of in line with the guys we've been bringing this year, kind of younger, 25 and under kind of guys. Not as experienced. I think he's had 2 years with Real Salt Lake, but they've had a pretty good 2 years out there. And I honestly, I don't know a ton about him because I didn't watch much of the West last year, and we were still in NASL 2 years ago. So, but we've got some depth at the back now, and some guys. He's we signed one of his line mates, I guess you could call him, earlier in the offseason. So we're bringing in some guys that already have some chemistry and some experience together, either as starters or depth. So it's I think we're about done right now with signings. I know that they're planning on going small in the roster like we did last year. See whether or not that's a good idea or not. But I from what I read, I like the move, but you always like it when you read about it at first.
Tom, anything on either of the previously mentioned gentlemen other than the college connection there?
No, not on them. I was just going to throw out today, who just broke for us that Mark Anthony Kay is heading over to Los Angeles to play in the MLS. So that's our big thing going on right now.
We have a Twitter question in a hot minute about that from one of your guys, matter of fact. So that'll be we will get to that when we get there. And then Ben, you guys, I think you kind of mentioned it. You mentioned we bring it up again, and here it is. Kevon George signs for you guys. So that's a not a name a lot of people know, but it's an interesting one nonetheless.
Yeah, it's really exciting because, like I previously mentioned, since we knew we were losing Hilton officially, we didn't have really any midfielders as far as central midfielders go, and losing June Marquise Davidson to retirement was going to be a pretty big setback, I felt like, because he was one of the unheralded players from last year. I mean, I think I was looking at it, he had 91% pass completion last year, and he averaged something like 50, 52 passes a game. So if I'm not mistaken, he was the most prolific passer in the entire USL last year. So it was, and towards the end of the season, there was a stretch where we didn't have him that was evident, obviously. So looking at his stats, I mean, they're very comparable, but it's nice because we're going to have a little bit of it looks like George is a little more of an aerial threat, which will be nice. And he's a lot more than enforcer in the midfield too. I guess fouls conceded and yellow cards, but he's got almost double the duels won and tackles won and things like that compared to Davidson. So he's not really going to offer a whole lot as far as attacking goes, but it seems like we're getting a really good replacement or pseudo replacement for June Marquise Davidson. So it's exciting. Yeah.
Definitely helps when you have a bunch of guys leave, and then the guys that come back or the ones that you bring in to replace kind of are also equally as exciting, or maybe more so in some ways, for sure. And then the other big one, as they'd like to stylistically be called, capital ATL, capital UTD 2, or as we all know them, just Atlanta United 2. Signed AJ Cochran, Diego Lopez, Jack Metcalf, and Joseph Samuel to their roster. It's a strange mix of guys. AJ Cochran, a long-time St. Louis center back who's got tons of experience, and actually a friend of the program and Western Conference host now, Phil Grooms, did a pretty good interview with AJ last week, kind of about why he made the jump and things like that over on St. Louis Soccer Report. But, and then you have Joseph, who's 20 or 19 and was a Bethlehem Steel guy last year. I'm not too familiar with Metcalf or Lopez, but it's an interesting blend of people. It'll be interesting to see how they build that team. They have a couple weird things where they have, Mitch Hildebrandt on their roster, as is Alec Kahn, who are two guys that I'm sure would love to get some USL minutes. So I guess overall, gentlemen, in general, how do we feel about Atlanta United 2? And then more so about these four guys joining the ranks.
Really, the only thing I've got to say on it is it's the official name is Two-Nighted, and I will not hear any comments.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting to see how their roster's going to come back together, because, I mean, you got, I guess, Cochran, who's going to be a pretty stable guy in the center back position. Metcalf, who on our roster last year officially, I guess. I know he trained with the team last year, and he played a pretty decent amount the year before. He's more of a fullback, and I want to say he can play some central midfield as well. Pretty good talent, I'd say. It'll be interesting to see if he makes the consistent starting 11, to be honest with you, but it's a good signing nonetheless. And Joseph Samuel, I remember him being pretty entertaining at times for the Steel. I know you'd probably know more about him than me, of course, but yeah. Yeah,
so Joseph was a weird case, and then he was a guy that didn't go to college, obviously, and thought his career professionally was ready to start, and so it did. Not bad by any stretch, and I definitely think, unlike a Cochran maybe, where Cochran, kind of feels like he's on a this is your year to prove we should give you an MLS contract kind of thing. I think Samuel's definitely a guy that needs some more development, but he is, back in kind of his hometown, so to speak, in Atlanta, where he actually, immigrated into the country from Ethiopia when he was like 10, I believe. So I'm a super nice guy, or kid even, because I can call him that because I'm older than he is. So yeah, and definitely looking forward to see him when they come back up. But we shall see. I think they definitely have the staff in place to develop a guy like that. I think more so than the Union did, and that's not because I think the Union coaching staff are bad at developing players. But I mean, you look at the guys in Atlanta, and it's and I can't think of any, but Tata Martinez is there. And then it's bothering me. Men's national. Oh, it's their GM. This sucks. Someone help.
It's right on the tip of my tongue.
Wow. Oh man. Oh, it's there.
And you want to do this live so people can watch.
Yeah. I want someone to feel this pain right here. Is how bad it takes me to figure out. Oh my God,
Bocanegra.
Yeah, Carlos Bocanegra. Thank you. Good Lord, if you felt that was uncomfortable listening to the podcast, you're right. That was rough. Anyway, but yeah, I mean they have a really great coaching staff down there, and I'm really excited. I'm going to stop talking. Tom, do you have anything on the Atlanta guys?
No, I can
Southeast.
I can tell they're a 2 team because they have a 2 on the logo.
It's true. It's true. Hey, but listen, they put a railroad spike through that, so you know that they're different.
That's right. The word, actually, now the word's escaping me. I made a joke about the the worms on the thing. I said it's an embarrassment to the medical profession because of that logo. But yeah, that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge, so I apologize for that.
No, you're right. You're right. It's fine. And it's one of those things where, like, you know, I know to make this about myself. But Bethlehem's first practice that was open was today. And they have, you know, the USL guys. I think they had like 4 trials. And that's just kind of how that works now. You know, you bring in guys that you think can get an MLS deal. We'll talk about that in a little bit. You know, and then you have your kind of academy kids and your guys that their ceiling is USL, but they like to develop players, so they hang out. That being said, a little bit of an ad break. I just need to remind everybody. One, we're sponsored by Soccer Loco. So what you can do, go to the USLshow.com. Up at the top on the right, there's a blue, it's a logo. It's a Soccer Loco on it. If you click that, anything you buy, whether it be, you know, the new Barcelona kit or a pair of cleats, or I don't know, if you want a Kyle Larin Orlando City kit now, feel free. We get a cut of that. So, you know, just so you know, keep in mind, if you're like, I really miss Kyle Larin, go out and grab his jersey. Even if there's a Besiktas one there, we'll get a cut of that too. Also, I just want to point out selfishly that we have a Patreon. So if you, for whatever reason, want to financially back us in any way, shape, or form, you can do that. Patreon.com/the USL Show. Also a link right underneath the Soccer Loco one that takes you there. Gentlemen, I didn't bring you on the show to talk about news that you don't really know a whole lot about and to listen to me read an ad. I brought you here because, for better or for worse, I think you know a good bit about the teams that you follow. So we're going to talk about them. I suppose starting with the reigning and defending USL champions, Louisville City. Tom, for people that don't know, or for people that maybe don't want to know more, tell us more. What's kind of the hot and fresh scenes going on in Louisville, and how were things last year other than really good?
Yeah, a lot of folks. We have a saying down here in JOC, James O'Connor, we trust. A lot of moves this offseason in the USL, and a lot of folks in Louisville were like, what about us? You know, what moves are we making? And another contingent of us said, why should we make moves? We seem to be doing okay. But we did have some moves. Sticking with that 3-4-3, I would imagine. We flirted with some other formations last year, and on those occasions they didn't seem to work out too well for us. So we seem to be sticking with that particular model. But 18 wins, 6 losses, and 8 draws ain't too shabby. And then how it turned out in the postseason, of course, nobody's going to complain down here.
Yeah, what happened with that one? I don't. You guys won a thing.
Apparently, there's this cup.
Okay.
And we won it.
Great.
But
that sounds great.
I still haven't gotten on the horn with Brian Weigel or any of those guys because they still haven't put the star on our logo on their schedule. So I think that's
yikes.
Come on, boys. We got to get on that. But we did, and we'll talk about it more when we get to that particular question. But definitely move-wise, we lost Mark Anthony K today. But we picked up Pat McMahon from FC Cincy. So we did need to restock that back line. We lost Sean Reynolds to St. Louis. We'll get to see him during the preseason, but we'll get to see him during the regular season, as you guys mentioned. They got snuck back out west again. But other moves, Chris Hubbard, we needed a third GK from he went to University of Notre Dame. We picked him up. The big one, a fan favorite here, is Magnus Rasmussen. He's from Denmark. He went back to Denmark for a year, and we brought him back. So he actually posted today a picture of him from 35,000 feet over the Atlantic. So he's headed back here. And then the name that I have phonetically spelled in my notes, Alexi Zouahi, who has played his entire life at Bowling Green State University. In fact, they picked him up at age 3, and he played from then on. But it would seem like that because he played his NCAA career He only sat on the bench for 30 seconds in his 4 years as and served as captain. So this guy's an Iron Man, as they say. He knows what the heck he's doing. A lot of questions around him are, what's he going to be like coming straight out of college? But we got a lot of young guys. Like I talked about, young Harris brought a lot of our products. So looking forward to that. I mean, the main thing is now we've got 2 products at FC Cincy. Luke Spencer did an amazing job last year for us, and now we got Pat McMahon on the backside doing his job as a defender. But things we're looking forward to, things to watch out for. I got my eyes on Speedy Williams. He played for like 83 minutes against South Korea today.
Yep.
He's an amazing guy. He creates so much just watching him work. Just like one of my personal favorites on the squad, Oscar Jimenez. Both of them, just watching their hustle and the way they make things, they create opportunities. It's so great. But I got my eyes on Speedy because in that spot, in that midfield area, we don't have a lot going on in terms of backup. So the questions from our side is, and big old props and credit to Taylor Sorrells, who is our editor-in-chief of the blog and primary, when he's not ducking out on me, host of Barrel Proof FC. But Taylor does a great job of breaking these things down and analyzing him, and that's what he was calling out. Was with Speedy gets called up, which he more than likely is, considering he played 83 today.
Yep.
What are we going to do in that particular area? So we're perhaps looking to maybe get another signing there. And then the rest of it is, what do we do this year? Are we going to be able to repeat? We all hope so, of course. Are we going to be able to make a deeper U.S. Open Cup run than we have had success with in the past? Certainly hope so. Got our eyes on the Supporter Shield. I know that's, West versus East. It's a little bit weird how it works, but it's just another target to set your sights on. And then, of course, we get to mess around with Nashville for 1 year, apparently. But the Derby, we decided, I can never find the guy who actually came up with it originally, but Sour Mash Soccer Bash is our Derby title.
Very good.
So very good. Yeah,
very good.
I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of all our supporters, but they come up with some good stuff, and that was one of them. Indy 11 coming in is a new old rivalry because we used to always meet them in the U.S. Open Cup just because how things worked out. And they're only an hour and a half, 45 minutes away. Really excited about playing a match in Lucas Oil Stadium. It's going to be very unique. And then, of course, those other dudes that are also somewhat north of us who I don't know what their problem is, but we meet FC Cincy 3 times.
It's because you get along so well is that they keep scheduling you guys to play each other 3 times a year.
We get along famously. Everybody
Swimmingly.
loves one another. No, it's good. We'll go up there twice, and then they'll come down here in September. And last year we had an amazing. We normally do our tailgate and all that stuff, right, as a regular thing. But last year we had a big block party, like a special event when Cincy came, and it was a good deal. The only thing that made me more than happy than anything else is obviously when Cincinnati comes, we usually have our highest attendance. But the championship match against Swope Park, we set the all-time Slugger Field attendance record. So now I can say, hey, we did it without you. So take that. But it's totally petty. It's a terrible rivalry. It's everybody just wants to poke and prod all the time.
Tom, I'm gonna be honest, and then we'll open the floor up if Ben and Matt have any more questions. I'm glad someone finally called it petty, so now I feel that I have free reign to do so. Because I don't have bad interactions with either of your fan bases, and then you guys talk to each other, and I get really uncomfortable.
Right, I think that's exactly right. And generally, I think we get along pretty dang well with everyone else in the USL, but it's that whole thing, and I'm not sure what it is, and it gets my goat.
It's the color schemes that clash too much.
Yeah, I think that's it. But for me, it's terrible because growing up in Kentucky, you're either a University of Kentucky or a University of Louisville fan, and I'm a Louisville fan, and so now I have 2 different rivalries that are just as annoying. as each other. So I'm like, how is my luck this good that I just get this constant? But no, I mean, honestly, we do have a lot of good relationships with individuals in the Die Innenstadt, or as I call them, Die Innenstadt. I don't know why I started doing that, but Die Innenstadt.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, there you go. That's my present to you.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'm free, happy. Thanks for letting me kind of blab there about everything. But
No worries,
free to entertain any questions about what you guys think we got coming up this year.
You kind of mentioned earlier, we talked about it on our show either last week or the week before, sticking with a lot of the players that you had that won the championship. How do you personally come down in that? Was it a good idea, or do you think you should have looked to improve in some areas?
The main concern for me is not necessarily improving in some areas. Obviously, we didn't renew the contracts on a few guys. And I mean, we formed such close relationships with these players that we're always sad to see them go. But certainly there were some components of those positions that we needed some work on, especially like we signed Pat McMahon and Alex Wahi and got that defensive back line stocked up a little bit better. But my main thing is, personally, I say, look, James O'Connor has seemed to have a magic hand in whatever he does. I'm willing to trust the guy on a lot of things. And considering the fact that he brought what he had to a championship, I'm like, you know what? If you're not wanting to make all these moves, that's fine by me. I'm not going to complain about it. But again, just like I mentioned, is that there's a couple areas where we seem like we're thin, and with the talent that we've got on the squad and the opportunities they have for call-ups, either to the MLS or to international play, it kind of makes you worry a little bit of like what happens. How do we fill those positions?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you got to figure he's maybe a guy who's not in a solid of a position as he is, who's not coming off a championship winning season, might want to make moves to do that. But he's probably got some leverage there with his accomplishments that he can take a risk. And if it doesn't work out, it's not like he's thrown out the front door.
Certainly. And his big thing, and when you get to know him and watch him and how he interacts with his players, is it's not just about the product on the pitch. It's about how they interact with each other in terms of like a familial relationship, brothers in arms type thing. He's got a very strict way of keeping them together and keeping them on the same squad, and not just physically, but emotionally. And so once he gets a formula that works, I don't blame him for not screwing with it.
Sounds good.
Ben?
First of all, Magnus Rasmussen has got to be the best name in the USL right now.
It's really good, right? It's really good.
Yeah, which we always think of the old on ESPN, the strongest man competitions, Magnus Magnusson, but now we got Magnus Rasmussen. But...
Yeah, so wait, can Magnus Rasmussen move an entire like 18-wheeler? Do we know? We need to find out.
He throws entire kegs. Yeah, he throws entire kegs and lifts, deadlifts women in buckets and stuff like that. So
yeah, pick up children when he scores goals.
Right. He's a fan favorite. We're really happy to have him back. So I'll be glad to see him.
Ben, I apologize.
Sorry. No, that's essentially where that needed to go for the.
Okay, great, good.
But yeah, is there any concern that you didn't? Or like I guess you said the defenders are kind of like an area issue or issue of concern there, but is there any, let's go with not bringing players back or who you may want to add as far as a midfielder, defender, forward, before the season starts?
I think definitely midfield is where we as supporters are focused in terms of like, oh yeah, we have some minor concerns about how things are going to go there. Not in terms of the talent that we have or don't have. It's just that it seems thin. Maybe there's a couple spots we need some backup in. And the question is like, Alex Wahi talking about being a defender. Can those guys kind of pop up if needed to fill those positions? And he's fresh out of college. Who knows? Now Pat McMahon, he's a journeyman. He's been around, done his thing. But the question will be, and like you kind of said, it's early yet, and we're all going to find out once the preseason gets rolling along. But yeah, we definitely are like, we're not worried, but we're like, okay, we can see some spots that definitely need some work.
I got you.
Right on.
Makes sense.
Right on. Moving on, Matt. Tell me about the Tampa Bay Rowdies.
It's been an interesting offseason after the first season in USL. We were kind of wondering how they were going to – first of all, we were wondering last year at this time coming in, what's the team going to look like? There was all kind of rumors everyone's going to be gone. There's no way Joe Cole's going to step on the field in USL. And they held the team pretty much together coming over from NASL and added a few new players. There's a little more turnover this year, but despite – some people's beliefs on Twitter, the dismantling of the Rowdies is highly exaggerated, and I actually feel pretty good about everything that we've ended up doing. So last year, of course, was our first year in USL. Started out pretty good, and in typical Rowdies fashion, hit a stretch of 8 or 9 games without a win. Pulled it together at the end and snuck into the playoffs for the first time in any league since we won the NASL championship in 2012. Third place Eastern Conference, finished 14, 11, and 7 on the year. Beat Cincinnati in the first round, which I know made a lot of people happy. And got knocked out by the Baby Bulls in round 2, which let's not talk about that.
Okay.
Stu Campbell is coming back for his third full year as head coach. Took over in 2015, about halfway, 3/4, 2/3, whatever the way through. Had a good year last year. Said we had team records in like regular season wins, goals scored. I think even fewest goals against in a while too. But he's been the guy. He's been with the club. He came over in 2012, played on that championship winning team as a defender, and then transitioned into the coaching staff as an assistant, and eventually as a head coach when Thomas Rangan. Wow, there I go.
You got it. It's right there.
Thomas Rangan
There you go.
was dismissed. So we got 22 guys on the roster right now, including today's signing, and I think there may be one more. Maybe there's a trialist or something we see in preseason. The only real big moves, at least that have been formally announced, there's other guys out there that have not announced what they're doing, but pretty sure they're all moving on. Matt Pickens, who has been, we signed him from Colorado in the year that our keeper went down in like the second preseason game, and has been a huge fan favorite. Had hit 100 appearances last year, not in one season because that's impossible. But moved on to Nashville.
Unless you count pickup games.
Well, we're magical like that.
Yeah. What if,
scrimmages sometimes.
I mean, like he's shown up at 100 places throughout the year.
Just about. Actually, down here by me, I ran into him like 2 years ago, the day after we once again didn't make the off season at like a local pumpkin festival, and he just kind of gave me a nod, and I felt very cool for a few minutes, and then I realized that I was at a pumpkin festival, and I didn't feel cool anymore.
I'm sorry. Is there something uncool about pumpkins, Matt?
No, but
you can check them with catapults.
This is true,
right?
I loved watching that on TV. By the way, I'm really mad they don't do that. They don't record it and televise it anymore. The good old pumpkin.
See, and now we actually got to your problem with pumpkins. It's not with pumpkins. It's that they don't televise them being catapulted anymore.
Yes,
we've had a breakthrough today, Matt. I'm glad you're here.
At my age, it's the most I can do. So Pickens went to Nashville. Martin Patterson popped up in India a week or so ago. And in typical Martin Patterson fashion, if you remember, he came on one game last year at Toronto FC2 and scored in about 13 seconds. He flew from, I'm going to guess, the United States to India, got off the plane, had one training session, and then scored the only goal for his team before halftime in the first game. Very cool guy, very intense, a lot of fun to watch. We're going to miss him, but I think we've got some replacements in stats wise and also personality wise. So I'm just going to run through the roster and the re-signings and the new signings and stuff. Joe Cole, Marcel Schaefer, probably the two biggest names are back. Matt Pickens has been replaced by, it'll either be Cody Mizell or Akira Fitzgerald. I kind of think it'll be Cody Mizell, and I think that's a pretty good replacement. Cody was here a couple years ago and didn't do great, but left, and I know had some good times up in Charlotte, and is coming back, and we're glad to have him. But honestly, Akira Fitzgerald could start for how many clubs does USL have now in plus
9,000?
Yeah, could probably start for 2/3 of them.
Great.
Including this one. He started the season last year when Pickens was hurt, and posted 3 straight wins at first, and then got injured in Louisville. Thanks, guys.
So it's that pitcher's mound that did him in.
Yeah, that Wayne Estenopol custom designed pitcher's mound. Yeah. That dude is actually making money off of that patent now, believe it or not, because they're using it elsewhere. Yeah.
Cool. But as far as our kind of signings, there's no big names coming in this year. We went young, but guys that have had experience in the league and have had success in the league. A couple guys from Red Bull New York, a couple guys from Real Monarchs.
Mm-hmm.
We re-signed a couple guys I didn't think we were going to, and Leo Fernandez and Hunter Gorski came back. We picked them up earlier in last season from the Cosmos, and they were both. Well, Leo got hurt about halfway through the year, but is apparently back and ready to go. Hunter, in addition to having gorgeous hair, has a head for the goal as well, which was nice to have. But probably. I'm counting Mizell as the big signing, just because he's the one most likely to step into the key spot, replacing Pickens, who is probably the most important player who left in the offseason. As far as guys to keep an eye on, Alex Morel, we signed him as I think as a trialist last year. Has quickly become a fan favorite, and we've got 2 kids on the roster now. Between Alex and Kyle Karinga, who, as teenagers, used to watch the Rowdies in the stadium. So it's kind of neat to have a couple homegrown connections. But Morel's a lot of fun, and I might be just throwing it out there because he actually likes to come on the podcast, and his mom listens when we have him on there. So I may be a little biased, but I think he'll get some more time this year, and I think he'll be impressive. I was honestly worried we might lose him in the offseason to MLS. Hasn't happened yet, but wouldn't surprise me if something happens this year if he gets the amount of playing time that I think he will. Really our kind of one rival last year kind of was Orlando City B, just because it's Orlando. And
you did so well that you killed them.
I know, they killed the team because we beat them twice and drew once, and they just shut down the whole operation.
That part of it. Well, and now that Kyle Laren left the main team, I mean, they do have Justin Merritt. Well,
but
jury's out. Jury's out.
So that's still enough to dislike about Orlando.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the one rival, even though it wasn't really the same thing as playing the big team. And now, if you look at the Eastern Conference map, it's kind of like the rest of the conference is telling the Rowdies that we can't sit with them because we're just kind of isolated. There's Atlanta United's or United is the closest, but we get them in a midweek. But as far as my opinion, the games I look forward to, the teams I kind of consider the rivals based off last year, Cincinnati, just because number one, they're Cincinnati, but going back to when we were still in NASL, we knocked them out of the Open Cup that year before they made the Open Cup all about themselves. We got them into the playoffs on the last weekend and then knocked them out the next weekend last year. They're going to be our first preseason game in about 2 weeks. And the Cincy Soccer Talk guys are going to be down here. We're going to do a live show after the game from a bar, which is, I'm sure, a great idea. We're going to make it work, though.
What could go wrong?
Do you need me to come down and moderate / drink in excess? Okay, great.
Happy to do that.
Yeah.
Charleston was the only team to beat us at home last year, and they beat us. There was one of our 3-game swings last year. We played them 3 times. They beat us here, they beat us there, and then we got a win over them at the end of the year when we needed it. And that's a road trip that a lot of guys had fun on last year and are looking forward to again this year. Bethlehem.
Hello.
The sake of what was 2 games in about a week. And
yes.
It got a little chippy.
Yeah, we didn't like each other a whole lot. That was weird.
Well, a couple guys got hurt, and
Actually, funny story, and I'm glad you brought us up because now I have a natural segue. Apparently, the spray paint y'all use ruined 2 of our jerseys.
The spray paint for what?
From the turf.
Ah.
I think that might have been a preseason thing last year. But
Okay.
I was informed today that it ruined 2 jerseys. So
I'll have to talk because I know one of the groundskeeper guys. Well, now he's a former groundskeeper guy, but I knew one of the guys that worked on the field last year. I had never heard about them using spray paint out there. I know we used a helicopter one time, but I don't remember the spray paint.
okay.
Before they got the drainage settled when they converted it from a baseball field to a soccer field. But yeah, things got a little chippy. I was just reminded I have a piece of audio. I could have pulled it up and played it. We talked to Stu Campbell right near the end of the regular season. I think it was after the return game here, and said, "Stu, you wanna meet up with these guys again in the playoffs?" And he gives you a look, and you feel like you're going to explode. And he just said yes in his very British accent.
See, and that's funny because I knew an Irishman that very much wanted to meet you guys in the playoffs as well. So I think the feeling is mutual.
It'd be interesting.
We'll see if they cooled off at all over the off season. I'm sure they both had time to go home, but that'll be. I'll keep my eye out.
And I'm looking forward to having Indy and North Carolina FC.
Yeah.
Mad that we can't yell what the heck's a Railhawk at them anymore. But I'm going to try to arrange because Indy and Cincinnati away for us is in the middle of my summer vacation. I'm going to try and make that trip. Louisville, I was going to try and come to you, but because I'm going to be like in Chattanooga the weekend before the game, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make it there, unfortunately. And I just found out today that I might get to go to Charlotte away this summer as well too. So we'll find out.
The traveling Matt Cox, everybody. Gentlemen.
I mean, hey, I didn't get to do road games, and we don't have that many options anymore. We used to have Jacksonville and Fort Lauderdale, Miami.
It's true.
Now we got nothing.
Gentlemen, any questions for Matt regarding the Rowdies?
What's the TIFO game going to be like this year?
Hey.
Ooh, that's important.
It's going to be good. I mean, I don't think we've ever like thrown it out there. Like the main crew that works on this are like professional artists to begin with, so their ability is excellent. But I'm looking forward to see what we have this year.
We are too, with mad respect.
Yeah, the Mob City one I heard about it maybe about like a month before, and it was like I don't know if they're going to pull it off. And my favorite part of that, and it's you kind of have to peek close to see it, but the Pelican is carrying a pistol. Got it out there, and it's up. That's beautiful. Let's slap some violence onto our kid-friendly mascot, which I love. That's fantastic.
No, my only other comment is anytime you want to beat Cincinnati in the playoffs, I'm more than happy to support you in that. So
I think we can all back that here.
Look, we aim to please. We are the People's Club, so.
Listen, anyone that employs my full-grown adult son and now dad, Leo Fernandez, I'm here for it. He's a good dude. Ben, anything for Matt?
The first thing I'd like to say is, how dare you steal Mizell from us? I just wanted to get that out there.
We're just bringing him back. We'll look at it that way.
I guess he was almost like on a loan.
Yeah, it was a permanent loan, and now it's over.
Yeah.
He was a agent undercover Cody Mizell.
Oh, okay. So he was just stealing.
Frankie Muniz played him for a little bit. It was great. You should have.
There is kind of a resemblance.
Yeah, there is in a way if you think about
weird.
it. Yeah.
We can stop now.
But yeah, I think I'm really interested to see how that roster is going to come together with all the different pieces that you brought together. I mean, ceiling for the Rowdies are this point. What do you think the expectations are, I guess?
We were happy to. I was kind of happy to get in the playoffs and kind of finish where we were. I thought it was fair last year. As far as like watching him this year, I'm interested, of course, to see how we do. I feel like this is the best mix we've got of kind of veteran and young talent. And the one thing we've talked about is we're bringing in a lot of guys who are 25, 24 in there, but it's guys who have played professionally in some cases for 4 or 5 years and have had a certain level of success at the clubs they're at. So it's kind of a good atmosphere for some of them coming in, I think. And I want to see how Cincinnati does, because Cincinnati's doing the thing that we used to do in NASL, which was go sign everybody that was really good the year before and see what happens. And never worked out for us. Not to say that it can't for Cincinnati, but I'm interested to see if they can pull it off. But the goal is still to get get that cup and not get beaten by a B team after we complained about them all year.
Whoa, hey. That was unnecessary, sir. And they're not B teams. That one folded. It's MLS 2 sides. Thank you. Hey Ben.
Hey.
You've been lovely and patiently waiting.
Have been, yeah.
You're on a podcast called Talkin Jacks, which is not about the cereal.
Ooh, that would be a good podcast, though.
It would be probably better than anything we've come up with collectively. Or
I may need to throw that by Alex.
I think you guys need to. You can rebrand. It's early, so just become a podcast about Apple Jacks, the cereal, or about the cards in the deck. But it's about the Charlotte Independence.
You could play card cereal, and it'd be a great show right there.
Yeah. So really, we should just do that. But no, please enlighten us about the Jacks, as it were.
Yeah. So last year was a bit of a roller coaster. We went into the season not really having a forward at all. Everyone was terrified of how we were going to score goals, and the recurring theme throughout the beginning of the season. We had missed a couple of players due to injury. We didn't have Enzo, I think, until the third or fourth game. Suspension and then an injury, which was really telling for our offense. And we kind of had to figure out who we were. Middle part of the season, we went on what we have affectionately called a hashtag beatless, where I think it was a dozen games we didn't lose a match. And a lot of them were wins as well. So expectations were through the roof. But it's kind of been a theme for us. For those that don't know, I think the first year we had a smaller stretch where we didn't lose a game. But the year before, our second year, I guess you could say, we had another stretch of 12 games where we, in the middle of the season, where we didn't lose a game. But I say that to say that towards the end of the season, both our second year and this last year, we had kind of fallen off. I don't remember how many games we lost in a row to end the season, just because there were so many of them, and it was really frustrating. There was a lot of just annoyances with the last part of the season there. And of course, we capped it off with a loss in Rochester, which we do annually. We won't do that this year, thank God.
Yeah, I was going to say the good news is that you won't have to.
Exactly.
The bad news is the reason why that's happening.
Yeah,
but that's fine.
Kind of like it's a good and bad situation where I feel bad for the Rhinos.
You were the only team that were like, yeah,
hey, whispers to ourselves.
Dead. I love it.
Yes. So we don't have to deal with that, luckily. So that's an exciting part. I mean, we play a really wide open style, honestly. And our fullbacks will normally be ahead in an attack and put crosses in, and that's a lot of the ball, which, for better or for worse, I mean, we've had games where we had, I think, 65% of the possession and either didn't score or didn't win. Regardless, we didn't win. So it'll be interesting to see. I think we'll stay with what we do is like a 4-2, I think 3-1. I can't remember the rest of it. But yeah, we have a pretty wide open game too. A lot of the off season has been losing players, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Of course, losing Mizell. We surprisingly lost Austin Yearwood, who was one of our fullbacks, who's always really good. He's a young guy too, and he had Charlotte Eagles experience in the PDL. I was at least pretty surprised by that loss to the Kickers. We also lost Callum Ross, who was a rookie last year, but I don't even think you could really tell he was a rookie. He was one of our better players in the midfield and played a lot of minutes. Cody Mizell, of course, though, is going to be really difficult to replace. And then, of course, Lewis Hilton, like we talked about previously, he's going to be really tough to replace as well, just with the different aspects of the game that he brings, especially considering our style of play in the midfield. But, I mean, luckily, we still have roughly half a roster. I mean, who needs a bench, really? I mean, I don't think we need one.
Yeah,
Yeah. We'll just fill it in with some supporters, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Or some children. We'll take Bethlehem's strategy. We'll just throw some kits on some children, and they'll feel bad for them.
You're gonna throw kids on other kids and tie them like a weird Mighty Morphin Power Rangers kind of vibe.
Yes, our powers combined.
Yeah, for sure. Don't talk bad about my teenagers. They will beat you if you neglect them.
I probably shouldn't talk smack at all. I've learned my
karma,
lesson.
Right?
Yeah, and I have a bad history of saying something and then it will come back to bite me. Part is the players that we have signed are all quality. I mean, we brought back Enzo and Alex, who, as much as the probably league-wide perception of them is that they're hotheads and they're very complaining, maybe. It's a passion. I mean, I can probably understand from an outside perspective that they're a little particular players, but they're fan favorites of ours. They're local kids as well, or adults. They're my age. I can't call them kids. But but we also got Joel Johnson, who honestly I was surprised we brought back. He's got exceptional speed on as a fullback, passer as well, but he's really good defending as well. He's not just an attacking fullback at that. The ageless wonder Jorge Herrera, who's I think 37 years young. He is a fine wine. He ages. And then of course we brought back Donnie Smith, who has been with us a couple times as a loanee from the New England Revolution. And then we brought Kevin George, who's that new signing we talked about. And just today, another signing we got, Bilal Duckett, who's been our captain the last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, backs, which is really good. He's a fan favorite of ours. We refer to him as Super Duck, call him. But that's the promising thing about our roster right now is we've all brought back quality players. Some people, I feel like we're going to get some guys in. Honestly, I have no idea what this next season is going to bring because I feel like the East has really risen up. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at Bethlehem, who were they the last seed in the East, or were they the second to last seed in the East that made the playoffs?
We were the last seed in the East by our own volition, basically.
Yeah, but they're doing really good. I mean, I was even just looking at it, some Ottawa things, and I didn't realize that they signed the Swope Park Rangers coach, who's made it to the Western Conference Finals twice, and I think the USL Cup Finals twice in a row. So that's going to be interesting. I'm really curious to see where we're going to fit in the spectrum of everything there. As long as we finish above Toronto, too, I think if we're below them, then we will know that we had a bad season.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. I know we have another player signing tomorrow, which will be exciting.
Do you know who it is? Can we coordinate? Do you know when it's coming out? Is it one of those things? No. So
I wish I knew. We know
Fair enough.
It will be in the morning. That is as much as I can tease.
All right, so potentially by the time you're listening to this, it'll already be vaguely out of date because you'll know who that player is and we don't. So that's fun.
The beauty of a podcast. There you go.
Yeah, we'll just do this tomorrow. It'll be great.
Exactly. We'll just re-record everything.
Yeah, the whole thing. It'll be fun. Guys, questions for Ben?
Is there any chance that the Martinez brothers will go somewhere else, please? I would like that very much because they seem to be able to get our goat every time.
How many fingers does Enzo actually have? Did we
we know he has 6 knuckles on his left hand.
Right.
So he's
right.
yeah. It's there's no telling. I mean, like I've never shook his hand, and I don't know why I'd ever shake his left hand. That'd be weird. But yeah, I've never personally seen how many knuckles or counted his.
See,
knuckles.
that's the conspiracy theory.
Like,
no, you've never shaken his hand, so we'll never know.
Exactly.
Like I hope he hears this, Ty Enzo, and then just never shakes your hand.
Right. I would imagine he's also a big Ernest Hemingway fan.
He's gonna kill himself? That's terrible.
No, that's a deep joke about cats. Sorry.
Oh. I was like, wow. I mean, you said you wanted him gone, but Jesus, that's really
Yeah. That would have been an extreme escalation.
Permanent.
That's
Yeah.
not my style. So
I
sorry.
think Tom's putting a hit on Enzo Martinez.
It's that
you want
Irish
me to read
mafia.
all these books at one time? That's too many. I can't do that. I'll die.
I'm going to stand here while you boys read the whole anthology.
Yep. Well, that was lovely. Matt, anything for Ben regarding the Independents? Like maybe why they stole the Revolutions kit concept last year? Just throwing that out there.
So why did you steal the Revolutions kit?
Hey!
I mean, I guess we could have still thrown our hair, but we didn't. We have a higher budget than a
I mean,
child.
for your credit, it looked better than what they had, so that was weird.
Yeah, I'll admit to that. At least it wasn't like that weird one color, half another color kit they did last year.
Yes.
As long as it wasn't that, I would have been really disappointed.
I don't know. Listen, I think there's still time. I'm going to make a phone call tomorrow. It'll be great. That player signing, it's actually that kid. It's not even a player. Anyway, gentlemen, we have a couple Twitter questions. One is from Zachary Dyke, who asked 3 things, but really it was suggestions, and the answer to all of them is we're working on power rankings right now, actually, the core members of the show. And then the other 2 are also yes and probably. So there you go. The other Twitter questions we got, one from Cooper Colonel, who Tom, I'm sure you're familiar. Talking about Mark Anthony Kaye moving to Los Angeles Football Club, or as I like to call them, lids. Do we think there's more USL guys making the jump to MLS, or is he an anomaly? Now, if this is like is there more guys making the jump from non-MLS affiliates? That's interesting. But I mean, if you look at pretty much the whole reason Red Bull 2 and Bethlehem Steel exist, it's to put guys in MLS, and they've done that. So, and not only, guys like Derek Jones or Anthony Fontana or Austin Trusty or Matt Real or Mark McKenzie, but even the guys Bethlehem have brought in, Brandon Allen, Brandon Aubrey, Omar Holness, those are guys right now that are on prove-it contracts, and if they perform well, there's no reason they can't turn into can make the jump to the first team. And then the other thing I was thinking of when I read this was I think the USL itself is getting younger too, which is really interesting. So I don't think it's an anomaly, but many guys make that jump next year at the end of the year.
Right, I agree. I don't think it's an anomaly. I think the way we're headed is it's going to be more par for the course here shortly. It's one of those situations, we talked about it on Barrel Proof tonight, is you're sad but you're happy. It's like that's the whole point of these guys getting into these clubs and working their way through the lower divisions, is they want to move up, and it would be really dickish of us to be upset about it, but occasionally we'll exercise that right from time to time, but in this case, no, we're proud of him.
Yeah, and I think you hit on it too, that it's a sense of pride in that you saw those guys before they had a chance to make it big, or Matt, when Deshaun Brown was with you guys for like 2 minutes and then he moved to DC United because all their strikers got impaled or something. It's one of those things where you feel really, really happy for those guys, and I think we're all in a position where we get a vaguely personal level, and to see them have success as players and then, as people is really cool.
Yep, I'm just continuing my tradition. I think I saw Miley Cyrus perform when she was like 4 years old one time, so that's
good.
That's my thing, is watching.
So really, if anyone
up.
comes in contact with you, they're on the right path.
I am Midas. I am the Midas of the USA.
Good.
Yeah, but it is cool to see them. And you brought up Deshaun Brown and
yes.
Damian Lowe, and these are guys who were established before. before going over there, and then Damien went overseas to Sweden or Norway.
And Freddie Adu was on trial with you guys. Now he's with Las Vegas, which is really working out great, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even those guys, like they still tweet at the team, and they're like they pop up in Instagram comments, and they're tweeting at the supporters groups, and it's like you hate to see him go because number one, we want guys that score goals here too. But it is kind of cool to see them like go on and still have that kind of connection, even though they really weren't here for too long to begin with.
Ben, thoughts?
I would definitely agree with, I guess, the consensus that it's not really an apparition. I feel like the USL, as much as it's a development league for like the Bethlehem Steels and the Red Bulls too, it's also kind of like a, I guess, reinvigoration type league. Because I mean, you look at John O'Coley from the year he was the Golden Boot winner. He was playing on an NYCFC team that he wasn't getting out a whole lot of time, but it's almost like an audition too, which is really exciting. And it's really cool to be able to see those players in the league and their development really appreciated, not really being a B team, but in a way being a B team. The independence with the Rapids is having different players that have played with us for a short while, and now they're going to play with the Rapids and doing really well in the MLS, or like Marlon Hairston, who was played with us for a little while in our original season, playing for the U.S. men's national team, or getting that option there. So it's really cool to see that development of soccer, and I don't know how you can really argue against it with soccer in general in America. I mean, if you're going to be mad about a player developing and that kind of thing, then I can't agree with that. So it's exciting, development of soccer and talent in general. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing too, and you know, from talking to a decent amount of guys, even, you know, like Maurice Adu, which was crazy, but guys that, you know, play for the Union and then come down, and they're just happy to get minutes, which I think is a really underrated aspect of why having an MLS2 side, if you're an MLS club, is huge, is because those guys, you know, otherwise would be on the bench somewhere, or, you know, trying to loan guys out domestically is hard, and then you don't have control over guys, and that's how you end up with the guy like Brandon Allen getting loaned out to Minnesota and getting 6 minutes. So, yeah, definitely, you know, a really interesting part of the landscape, and I think the more USL continues to improve itself, and not only just legitimizing itself as a league, but putting guys in national teams. You know, Jamaica had a fair amount of USL guys in their team last year, in the Gold Cup and everything. So, and then a not so serious question from friend of the show, Brian Cook at Soccer with Brian. He does Indy 11 things. How much does everyone look forward to playing in Lucas Oil Stadium next year or this year? To which I say, I'll get back to you, because I didn't know it was going to happen. Like, you guys didn't know it was happening. So, no, but honestly, it's funny because, like, after a lot of guys play at Nippert for Cincinnati, or like against Cincinnati, they'll make it their Twitter profile picture because it looks cool. So, like, that'll just happen again. It'll be great.
Yeah, it really is a great place. I mean, with the beautiful skyline of downtown Indianapolis, but they got the open window, they got the roof. The amenities are great. Although that's my question from a dude going up there is, I'm used to NFL levels of crowd and amenities. What will the amenities be like during a USL match? But we'll see how it goes. I'm still excited about it.
Well, I think it's high time we get out of here. So, Tom, where can people find yourself and your likeness and other things that you guys do on the internet?
All sorts of places. Louisville Coopers on the Facebook, at Lou Coopers on Twitter, at Barrelproof FC for the podcast side of things with Taylor Sorrells, Brian Davis, and Timothy Clark. And then personally, you can always find me on the Twitter webs at Tom Foolery, Foolree, Tom Foolery.
Good. Matt, yourself, I mean, hopefully people that are familiar with this show are familiar with Unused Substitutes, given the network affiliation, but continue.
I would hope so. And obviously the unspoken dire need for mental assistance, if they're listening to all of us on a regular basis.
Yeah, that would be. Whew.
But before I do that, I'm going to shout out to Tom for buying one of our scarves last year. Highly appreciate it.
Hey,
My pleasure. It's actually I don't have this is not a joke. I don't have any of my own LouCity or Cooper scars anymore because I give them all away. I only have competitor scars at this point.
We're already working on this year's, and we'll hopefully have them pre-ordered soon. But we got the our website is theunsubs.com. No, we're not criminals on NCIS. It just we didn't think about it too much before we made it.
you also really don't hate hoagies?
No, big fan of the hoagies.
Yeah.
On Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Unused Subs Pod. I'm at unsub_Matt. My co-host Dan is at unsub_Dan. Yeah, that's
Cool.
us.
Ben, yourself and your folks and all y'all's likenesses.
All y'all down south.
Yeah, right.
That was my impression of a Southerner. But yeah, my Twitter name is Gosshorn Benjamin. I will spell my last name because it is silly. Goshorn. Benjamin is the normal way of spelling Benjamin. That is my Twitter name. You can follow us for all things Charlotte Independence, Talkin Jacks without the G. There's no G there.
There's no G. It's true. We've seen it.
No, there is no G.
There's no G.
And also for all things Carolina soccer, which is all throughout the ranks, PDL, USL, MLS if we had it. We don't have that though. Soccer and Sweet Tea, you can do that as well. We're going to be
No A or D in and.
Yes, just
You're a very big fan of chopping letters off of words.
simplicity.
Yeah,
We're
for
going to do one E in Sweet, but we felt like that'd be weird. So
That would be a little strange.
yeah. But yeah, that's where you can find us on the interwebs.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I know you all know because I've interacted with you on that Twitter account in many ways. This show is at the USL Show. We are also theuslshow.com, which is where you can find our podcast, as well as our Patreon, and a link to our sponsor, Soccer Loco. Hi, DK. How are you? Good. And then myself, if you, for whatever reason, like I always say, feel like you need to hear or interact with me more or on a more personal level, at Villela V as in Victor, ILLELLA BSFC, like Bethlehem Steel Football Club, or Bethlehem as people like to call it, or Beth Steel as some other people like to call it. And then I'm over on Brotherly Game doing USL related things there, at Brotherly Game on Twitter, or just brotherlygame.com. So, gentlemen, thank you for coming. It was a pleasure.
Very much appreciated.
Appreciate it.
No problem. Tom, Matt, stickers will be in the mail shortly for you. That's what happens when you're on the show. I give you a sticker until I run out, then I order more, then I give them to the public and other things. That's how that's working. It's great. So yeah, definitely look for the next round of Western Conference previews. I don't know who's going to be on it, but I'm sure it's going to be some lovely folks. And on behalf of Tom, Matt, and Ben, we'll catch you guys later. Take care.
Yeah.
Cool. Guys, appreciate it. You'll see this up tomorrow, I'm sure, in some fashion. It's kind of cool. All I have to do is just send this over to Mike as a public video, and then we rip it from there, and it's great. So,
Awesome. Sweet.
yeah,
Very cool.
It is very cool. And the audio quality is a lot better than Skype stock for whatever reason. It doesn't make any sense, but
That's a good deal. I appreciate it, man. Hope to
hey,
talk to you
Tom,
guys again
thanks
soon.
for being super last minute. I'm sorry to catch you guys at weird times, and I didn't know you recorded your podcast on Tuesdays, or else I wouldn't have.
No, it's really my bad for.
No, you're right.
I saw the direct message, and then because Taylor and I generally kind of share Twitter responsibility.
Yeah, well, so like, I mean, any given day it could be. Well, I mean, Ryan's in Scotland, so like Kev, Pony, Phil, or I, and so like I felt bad because there was a couple things for like the USL D3 announcement where we all like tweeted stuff pretty well at the same time.
Right.
And I was like, why did we do that? And I didn't feel like taking it down and things like that. So
no, it's all good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Matt, as always, you still look great without a hat, so that's fine.
I appreciate you lying about that.
Whoa, sir.
Well,
Anyway, I stopped the broadcast. It hangs up on everybody. So I appreciate it, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your nights, and feel free.
Thank you
If you
again.
want to come back on,
Appreciate it.
Yep. See you later.
reach out. Take care.
Guys.